So in this video, I'm going to talk about what the dermis is. And so to begin with, the dermis is a connective tissue layer that lies under the epidermis. And so as you can see to the right here, the epidermis is on top, so it's like in the red, and the dermis is below that in the tannish color. And so the dermis is composed mainly of collagen with elastic fibers, reticular fibers, fibroblasts, and other fibrous connective tissue. And if you don't know what those are, don't worry about it. We'll cover them in a future video. But for now, they're not really important. Additionally, the dermis is well supplied with blood vessels, sweat glands, sebaceous glands, and nerve endings. So as you can see all over there, you have a lot of blood vessels, you have sweat glands, sebaceous glands which secrete oil, and you have the nerve endings. Also, one cool thing is that hair follicles and your nail roots are embedded in the dermis. And so associated with hair follicles, you have these things called Pilo erector muscles. So these muscles are associated with hair follicles, and they will contract in response to stimuli such as cold, fear, and touch. It essentially, what the Pilo erector muscles does is it essentially makes your hair stick up. So if you ever get goosebumps or whatever, that's your Pilo erector muscles working. And so the piloerector muscle is pretty much vestigial, which means that it used to serve a purpose, but right now it doesn't have that much of a purpose. But one thing that happens when your hair rises up is it decreases heat loss. Also, another thing is that the boundary between the dermis and the epidermis is wavy and interlocking, and so due to that waviness, it helps hold the two layers together better. Also, another thing to mention is that the dermis actually has two layers. So the top layer is called the papillary layer, and the papillary layer is just a thin outer layer of areolar connective tissue. And it has these finger-like projections called dermal papillae that go into the epidermis. Under the papillary layer is the reticular layer, and it's just a layer of thick, dense, irregular connective tissue. And so the reticular layer actually makes up most of the dermis. The papillary layer is just pretty much just the top of the dermis. So the papillary layer is closest to the epidermis, and it is rich in small blood vessels, and what this does is this allows leukocytes to move about. And so this will help your body essentially determine where there are infections and stuff to help protect your body. And so now I just want to reiterate the functions of the dermis if I didn't make it clear. And so the main functions of the dermis is to regulate the temperature and to supply the epidermis with blood. And so this is why the dermis has so much blood vessels, and this allows for nutrient exchange and waste exchange. And so that pretty much sums it up for the dermis. Thank you for watching the video. If you found it useful or liked the video, please be sure to give it a like and share it with your friends.